morning. We're going to go ahead today and continue working on solving equations with x on both sides. So let's get to it. All right, so here's my equation. I have 3x plus 4 equals 2x plus 6, and we're looking for the value of x that would make this statement true. So as usual, I really enjoy splitting my equation by the equal sign because it helps me organize my left side, my right side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I always like to start with my x's. You can start with your integers if you want to. I just, for some reason, always start with my x's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to see where I have x's, and I'm going to go ahead and circle them. So on the left side of my equation, I have a 3x. On the right side, I have a 2x. Now what I need to do is to get those onto one side of my equation because my ultimate goal is to get x by itself. So the way that I generally do it, and you can do it either way, you can move the 3x or the 2x, doesn't matter, you'll get the same answer. I always like to look for my lower x value just because it can help to avoid working with negative x values and accidentally making a negative mistake. It won't always work to do that, but in this case it would. So I'm going to go ahead and move my 2x because it is the x with the lower value. So in order to move my 2x, because it is on a different side than my 3x, I have to do opposite operations. Okay, remember, if they're on opposite sides, you do opposite operations. So right now, even though there isn't a plus sign on my 2x, because there is no sign, I know that it's positive. What is the opposite of a positive? It is a negative, so I am going to subtract 2x from this side. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Now make sure that you line your x's up because otherwise it gets super confusing. So when I subtract the 2x from my left side, I'm subtracting it from 3x. So I want to put it right below that 3x. Put my line underneath. 3x minus 2x is 1x. I can just write that as x. If you were to write 1x, that's perfectly acceptable. I still have a plus 4 on my left side. I still have an equal sign. 2x minus 2x cancels out and equals 0. And so all I'm left with on the other side is 6. So now I have x plus 4 equals 6. Okay, what do I need to do to get x by itself? Hopefully you said that I am going to subtract 4 from that x. And again, whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Minus 4. I end up with x equals 6 minus 4 is 2, and that is my final answer. Okay, moving on to the next problem. 10x minus 4 equals 7x plus 8. Again, just a strategy I like to use. I always put that line so I can remember what my left side and my right side is so I don't get confused. So I have 10x minus 4x equals 7x plus 8. I'm going to look for my x's. I have a 10x. I have a 7x. Okay, I always like to move the lower value. In this case, it's the 7x. 7x is positive, so in order to get rid of it, I need to subtract 7x from this side, which means I need to subtract 7x from this side. Again, notice that I'm putting that minus 7x underneath the 10x because that is what I'm combining. Keeping myself organized. 10x minus 7x is 3x. I still have that minus 4 equals 7x minus 7x. Oh, that cancels out. And I'm left with a positive 8. Okay, my next step, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Why am I adding this time? Because this 4 is a minus 4. So in order to get rid of it, I need to do the opposite, which is to add. I'm left with 3x, cancels out, equals 8 plus 4, 12. Okay, last step. Now I have 3x plus 12. I need to get that x by itself. If I have a number next to a letter, that means that it's being multiplied. So I have to do the opposite of multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I am going to divide by 3 on this side, which means I divide by 3 on this side, and those 3's cancel out and become a 1x. What is 12 divided by 3? 4. And that's my final answer. Okay, 2x plus 32 equals 7x minus 28. Again, I'm going to draw my line. All right, looking at my x values, I have a 2x, I have a 7x. I'm going to choose to move my 2x because it has a lower value. So this is a positive 2x. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to subtract. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Again, notice I'm subtracting 2x from 7x because those are like terms. I can combine them. 2x's cancel out. So now I have 32 equals 7x minus 2x is 5x. And then I still have a negative 28. Next step, I need to get rid of that 28 because again, I'm trying to get that x by itself. I'm going to switch colors. So right now, notice that this is a negative 28. So to move it, I need to do the opposite, which is add. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. 32 plus 28. Hopefully we can kind of do that in our heads. Is 60 equals 5x. 28 cancels out. Last step. This 5 is being multiplied by the x, so to get that x by itself, I need to do the opposite. I need to divide. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. 60 divided by 5 is 12. 5 divided by 5 is 1, so x equals 12. All right, final slide. Here we go. Now things are in a slightly different order, but that's okay. We can handle it. All right, so again, I like to put my line down the middle. I'm sure you're getting sick of me saying that, but I'm going to keep saying it. All right, let's take a look here. Now, you have to be super careful on this one because we need to make sure that we're considering the sign in front of our x's. The reason being is this is a negative 10x. This is a negative 4x. That negative is important because when we move When we decide what we're going to move, we have to do the opposite. So in this case, hopefully you can see that negative 10x has a lower value than negative 4x. So what am I going to do? I'm going to move that negative 10x. I have to do the opposite, so this is a negative, so I'm going to write positive 10x underneath it to get rid of it. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Now I'm left with 45. Negative 10x plus 10x equals 0, so it cancels out. Equals, I still have 61. Okay, don't be very careful here. Don't make a mistake when you have a negative and you're adding a positive. Negative 4x plus 10. Okay, so let's think about this. Negative 4x plus 10. No, it's not going to light. Hold on a minute here, people. Let me just get rid of this for a second because I ran out of room. All right, we're back. We're back on course. Okay, maybe I need to write a little bit smaller. Negative 4x plus 10x. All right, now your 7th grade teacher spent a long time trying to teach you this. So it would be good for you to do a little mental math here. The worst you can be is wrong. So if I am adding two numbers, opposite signs, I subtract and I take the sign of the number that has the bigger absolute value. In this case, 10 has the bigger absolute value. It is a positive 10, so this is a positive 6, positive 6x. So my strategy of not ending up with negative x's has worked in this scenario. Next step, we're going to go ahead and we are going to move that 61 because we're trying to get x by itself, minus 61 on this side. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Okay, again, we can use this strategy. Right now I have 45 minus 61. We want to make it an addition. So 45 plus a negative 10. I'm adding numbers that have different signs. So I'm going to make it into a subtraction problem. 61 minus 45. How many of you can do that in your head? 61 minus 45 is 16. I'm going to take the sign of the number that has the bigger absolute value. In this case, it's 60. The negative 61 is further from 0 than 45. So this 16 is a negative. Or you can think of it as, oh, I have more negatives than positives, so it must end up being a negative number. So 45 minus 61 is a negative 16 equals 6x. Last step, I need to divide by the number next to the x, 6x, so I'm going to divide by 6. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Negative 16 divided by 6. Be careful on this one. It is a negative divided by a positive. This is going to be a decimal, so if you need to use a calculator, that is okay. X equals negative 2, and I'm going to round because it's 2.6666666. I'm going to round it to 2.7, and I'm done. All right, hopefully that all makes sense to you. Again, as I always say, if it doesn't, you can email, you can text, you can call. We are here to help you. We're happy to help you. We'd be happy to have any sort of conversation with anyone at this point, as I'm sure you guys would too. So give us a call, give us a text, give us an email. We would love to hear from you.